Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about gain or loss. And I have the words gain and loss in double quotes. I'll explain why in just a minute. We're going to identify gains and losses in your Microsoft Access database using if and the absolute function. And maybe a little bit later on, I'll show you some other tricks too. So stick around. Today's question comes from Elena in Garland, Texas, one of my gold members. Elena says, I currently print a monthly report for each district office, showing whether they've gained or lost subscribers. Is it possible to include phrases like gained 3 or lost 2 in my reports instead of just 3 or -2? I believe this would make the reports easier to read and look more professional. And I agree, Elena. We can certainly do this a number of different ways. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do it. They're all going to involve a formula involving either if or the switch function, the absolute value function, a couple of different ways you can do this. So let's talk about some prerequisites first. All right, if you don't know how to make calculated fields, go watch this video, either in a form or a report or a query. You should know what concatenation is. That's putting multiple strings together. Go watch my if function video. That's the immediate if. It's basically an if-then statement in a function. And you should know how to use absolute value. If you haven't watched these videos, go watch them. They're on my website. They're on my YouTube channel. They're free. Go watch them and come on back. Okay, here I am in my Tech Help free template. This is a free database. You can download a copy off my website if you want to. But let's just go into the customer table here. And this data can be in whatever table you want. Let's say you've got a value down here. We'll call it AMT for amount. And it's a number of type long integer. This is whatever value you want to show, gained 6 or lost 4 or whatever. Okay, so save that, nothing big there. And now let's go make a query. Now you could do this formula directly in a form or report. I recommend putting it in a query, especially if you're a beginner. All right, so let's go to query design. Let's bring in our customer table. And in here, I just want to show the customer ID, the first name, and that amount field. Okay. Save this as, I don't care, customer Q, whatever you want to call it, gains or loss Q, whatever. Doesn't matter. All right, let's put some data in here so we have some records with some data, right? Put in some positive values, some negative values, maybe a couple zeros, right? And we'll leave a bunch of nulls in there too, okay? All right, so I got some pluses, I got some minuses, I got some zeros. Now, the goal here is to say gained 5, gained 7, lost 4, that kind of stuff. So let's start off with a calculated query field. And we'll put that right here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it better. Shift F2. And I'm going to call this GOL, gained or lost. Okay. It's going to be if amount, that's my field. If the amount is greater than or equal to 0, comma, we're going to set this equal to gained and then a space. Don't forget your space. Comma, and then if it's less than 0, it'll say lost space, right? Close up the if function, and then ampersand the absolute value of the amount. So it'll say gained 4 or lost 2, because the absolute value is going to turn a negative into a positive, right? Okay, if amount is greater than or equal to 0, say gained, and then the value. Otherwise, it'll say lost, and then the value. That's a basic if function, and the absolute value. Ready? Hit OK. Save it and run it, and there you go. Looks good. Now, what about these null values down here? Values with nulls in them, they don't show anything. So what do you want to do? Well, we could treat that as 0 if you want, right? There's a lot of different ways, however you want to handle this stuff, folks. These are your Legos. You put them together however you want. I'm going to say let's treat any null values as 0. So let's just come in here. And we'll just put NZ around each place where we use the amount function, right? Coming right in here, and we'll say NZ, that's null to 0. And then we'll put a comma 0 there. That tells it what to make the value if it's 0, right? And then we'll just copy this, or what to make the value if it's null, that is, right? So if AMT is null, make the value 0. All right, okay. And then we'll put it there too. Okay, you with me? Hit OK. Save it. Oh, hang on, I got an extra missing closing parentheses. Okay, let's see. What did I do? NZ did. Oh, I forgot one extra closing parenthesis right there, right? This is the parentheses for NZ, and then we need one more for the absolute value, which is that one right there. I wish these were colored. In fact, I made a video where I showed you how to color them. Not in the actual query builder. We did it in a text box. All right, now run it. Okay, and now all these null values down here show gained 0. All right, looks good. But you know what? Gained 0 really doesn't sound right because you don't gain 0. I mean, yeah, technically you gain nothing. But how about we put in there no change, right? They stayed the same. Put the words no change in there. Well, let's come back in here. Design view. All right, we need a third condition now. So that tells me I need to nest two ifs together. Okay, so come over here. We're going to put a third if function. We're going to say if, all right, nz amount, comma 0. If that equals 0, then put no change in here. Otherwise, the whole second if function will then run because it's not 0, so that means it's positive or negative. And then again, don't forget another parentheses at the end, right? So this is the outer if statement, right? And it ends there. And this is the inner if statement right there. Okay, you with me? Hit OK. Run it. And there we go. We got no change for the null values and the 0 value. If you want to learn more about nested if functions, I cover them in this combining names video. Go watch this. Now, in addition to nesting ifs, I find nested if functions to be notoriously difficult to read. I actually prefer using a switch statement instead. If you got 3 or more possible outcomes, use a switch. All right, got a whole video on the switch function as an alternative to nested ifs. So we're just going to rewrite this whole thing. All right, we're going to say switch, and then you do condition, value, condition, value, back and forth, back and forth. There's no limit. You can keep going. There is a limit. It's like 255 characters. So it's something really long. You're never going to hit it realistically. Okay, so we're going to say if nz amt, comma 0. Okay, if that equals 0, then our comma is going to be no change. All right, comma. So there's condition, value. Next condition is going to be, I'm just going to copy this to my clipboard, this nz thing right there. Copy that. All right, next, if that is greater than 0, then comma, gained, space, and our value. Okay, comma, not m, comma, the third and final condition is going to be this guy is less than 0, comma, what do we put here? Lost, space, and now we don't even really need to use absolute value anymore because we can just take this thing and multiply it by -1 because now we know it's negative, right? Just an alternative there. Close it up, and there's your switch statement. See? Condition, and let me start that over. Condition, value, if true, right? Condition, value if true, and then condition, and then value if true. All right, hit OK, and run it, and there we go. Same results, but I think it's just easier to read a switch statement. Okay? And now you know what? Looking at all this, we could get rid of this nz amount 0 thing, right? We could make it a separate field, and then we maybe have like a value n, which would make this even easier to read. But you know what? We could actually take advantage of the fact that we do have some null values because you know what? To me, null doesn't say 0. Null really says I have no data, right? Null would mean that for these people here, we didn't get any data. So if it's your regional offices, you might want to get on the phone and say, yo, George, where's my report, right? I need to know how many subscribers you gained. So there's a big difference between null and 0, right? No data versus some data, and the data is 0. So why don't we do this instead? Let's go back into here. Let's say for our condition, if is null amt, then no data. Otherwise, now, once we get to this point, now we know amt has a value. So we can actually get rid of the whole null thing, right, the whole NZ thing, you just put AMT. If AMT equals 0, or if AMT is greater than 0, or if AMT right here is less than 0, right? And now it even gets even simpler to read because now we don't have to, now each of these other conditions don't have to handle null values. See how it works? Right? If is null AMT, put no data, you're done. Now, if you get past this, you know these values have something in them, right? If AMT equals 0, no change, which is different from no data. Otherwise, if AMT is greater than 0, put gained whatever. Otherwise, if it's less than 0, put lost whatever. See? Hit OK. And run it. And there you go. Sweet. And that is what I would use as my final function for this right here. It takes care of all those considerations. I'm just going to copy this and I'll put it in the notes down below if you want to use it. You could also make this your own function. All right, we've been doing beginner stuff so far, just working in queries. Let me stick a little developer action in here for you if you want to learn a little bit of developer stuff. Because this gets so much easier to work with if you make a function out of it. This way you don't have to have the stupid, function that we just wrote everywhere in your database. And if it changes, you only have to change it in one spot, not in this query, in that report, in this form, blah, blah, blah. All right, if you've never done any VBA programming before, don't panic. I got a whole 20-minute video that gets you through the basics, teaches you what it's all about. Go watch this. Once you get started, you'll see it's really easy. Not that hard at all. And then if you've done some VBA programming, go watch Create a Function, where I teach you how to make your own function in VBA that returns a value based on whatever parameters you send to it. So go watch this. A little more advanced, but it's still not that tough. And then go watch this video on the if-then statement. We're going to use if, then, else. Yes, there is a switch statement in VBA as well. I got a separate video on that today. I'm going to keep it simple, though. We're just going to use if, then. All right, so let's save this and close it. What we're going to do now is make our own function. So I'm going to come down here and find my global module. If you're using my database, you'll have a global module. This is code that every form and report in the database can use. If you don't have that already, click on Create and then Module over here. All right, that will put you in the VB editor, which looks like this. And I got to move it because I was working with it earlier, and I like to make it nice and big on my screen. Okay. All right. Ignore this stuff over here. And you might or might not have stuff in here. Don't worry about it. Just come down to the bottom. Okay. And we're going to make a public function. Public means everybody in the database can use it. Every form, every report, other modules, and so on. Function means it's going to return a value, as opposed to a subroutine, which is just another type of procedure that doesn't return a value. It just does some stuff. Like this one counts a number of seconds. Okay. But public function, what do you want to call it? Let's call it GOL, gained or loss. Okay, or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Name it whatever you want. You can call it gain or loss. Let's call it gain or loss. That makes more sense. All right. Okay, now we're going to send into it a value, AMT, as what kind of value is it? Let's just say for now it's a long integer. You could make it a currency value if you're dealing with money, right? You could make it an integer, but I always prefer long integers. They're just big integers. Okay, now gain or loss is going to return a value. Let's have it return the string that we want. So we can just display that in our forms and reports. So it's going to return a string value as string that'll say gained 3 or no data or whatever. Okay, all right, let's take care of the 3 basic conditions first. We got 0, negative, and positive. We'll deal with null at the end of the video because null is a little special, something extra. Okay, so we're going to say if AMT equals 0, then gain or loss equals no change. Okay, gain or loss, the name of the function is the value that it returns. Else, if AMT is greater than 0, then gain or loss equals gained AMT. Else, this means it's less than 0, right? Gain or loss equals lost, and AMT times -1. And if. And if you're wondering about the null value, we'll get to it. Just relax. Let's make sure this works first. Now, you can go over to your query and test this, or you can test it right here using something called the immediate window. All right, go up to View, and then Immediate Window. Now, down here, you can use this to query stuff up here. For example, watch this. Start it off with a question mark, and then type in gain or loss, and then in parentheses, put a 1. press enter, and look at that. It returns the value. It shows you what that function would normally return. Gained 1. All right, come up here and let's change this to -9, and then press enter. Lost 9. See that? All right, let's put a 0 in here. Enter. No change. See that? So now we can come over. Let's save this. Save it. Always throw in a debug compile. Come back out. Meow. Let's go back to our query again. Where do we make it? Customer queue. Design view. And let's change this now, this GOL, to gain or loss. I had to check the name. Gain or I was wondering if it was gained or lost. It's gain or loss, and then AMT. Okay. Hit OK. Save it. Run it. And there we go. Looks good. These are working, except now we're getting errors down here for the null values. Why is that? Well, our function is expecting a long. Okay? That means it can't handle null values. So there's two things you can do. The first thing and the easiest thing you can do is you can go back to converting null values to something else, like a 0. All right? If you put NZ in here. Okay. Save it, run it, and now you get back to sending it as 0 now. But that doesn't help us because we want to see no data. So in order to do that, in order to allow the function to receive a null value, that means you have to change this to a variant. Variant means I don't know what type of data to expect. It could be anything. It could be a string, it could be currency, it could be a date, it could be a number. It could be a null value. Okay, so you have to be careful in your code to take that into consideration. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, right up top here, I'm going to say, if is null AMT, then we're going to say gain or loss equals no data. Like that. And then we'll say else if, come here, come on, there it is. Else if AMT equals 0, and so on. We'll continue down that. Now we can handle a null value. Okay. Save it. Debug compile. Let's come back out here. Run our query again. And there you go. Now we can handle the null value. All right. Little trick there for you. Now, as you can see, if you've never done any VB programming before, it's not that hard. It's really easy. And if you intend on working with Microsoft Access for any period of time, learn a little bit of VBA. You don't have to learn a ton. Like, look what I just showed you today, right? In what, 10 minutes, we did something really cool. We wrote our own VBA function, all right? On my website, I've got tons of additional developer lessons. I start off with Developer 1. I take it nice and easy with the training wheels on, just like we did today. I go through all the introductions, a little bit more about statements and procedures, all that stuff. And then we go up to the levels. As of right now, it's December 2023. I've got 45 different levels of developer training. So I got plenty of stuff to keep you busy if you want to learn how to build applications in Microsoft Access. But there you go, Elena. There is your tech help video for today. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. Kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.